Okay, so I really enjoyed this yesterday, so we're going to do another round. What do we got? I got time stop, axes, and knives. That's pretty good. And I do have a little bit of money. What's that one? Power of flight. Oh. Oh. I forgot there's sky runes. They're very expensive. Actually, I think all of these are just more expensive. They scale based on level, probably? Okay, well, I can't afford that one way or another. So, I guess let's just go here. People are talking about tea sets, and I don't have any. Yeah, I just use a thermos, mainly because I don't really have time for, like, oh, we're nearsighted. That sucks. I hate nearsightedness. As a person with nearsightedness, I don't like it. If I didn't have to worry about the potential risk factors of getting eye surgery, also the fact that, you know, right now, every elective anything is just kind of off the table. But like, I'm afraid of doing anything that would like impact my eyes in any way, shape, or form, because it would be really. It'd be awful if I had to, if I had any kind of lasting complications, because I can't really take time off of work. Unfortunately, I love my job, but it's not the most friendly. Nope. There we go. It's not the most friendly to taking time off, taking breaks, relaxing, so on and so forth. And so it's very often that I'm just eating damage left and right. Luckily, we're just wrecking stuff anyway, because I do that much damage. But it's a problem. Excuse me, boner pants. None of that there. I gotta work on my dodging. Hey, thank you, Mini Murgle, for the 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much. Let's see. How are you doing this fine and lovely quarantine? That's probably a weird thing to say, but I'm gonna stick with it anyway. It's weird. It's almost pleasant for me, and it makes everything kind of unreal. That, you know, the idea that there's this horrible event going on in the world right now, and I'm just kind of like, I'm just chilling, and it's bad. There we go. Perfect. Let's see, are we doing this again? Ooh. Okay, I will be ready. Ah! I was not ready for him. Nope. There we go. Got it. And thank you, Crystalon, for the 5 gifted subs. I have given up naming all of the people in all of these because it's just no time. Let's see. I want to go down here. Let's see. Welcome to a world of isolation. I mean, the thing is, like, I've been isolated for years already to begin with. Moving to Portland was my like, Hail Mary at actually having, like, real-life friends for a while. Before probably going back to isolation, mild isolation for the rest of my life, just due to how my life is organized to begin with. Just because, yeah, I don't really take days off for hanging out with friends. I don't really have friends to do so. I don't, you know, stuff like medical is a bit spooky because it's just like, oh, yeah, if I have to, like, go in for surgery or, like, a doctor's appointment or anything like that, that very potentially is, like, going to get in the way of, that's going to get in the way of me doing work. And I should probably reclaim some of my life. The problem is, I've always been a bit of a workaholic even before I started doing YouTube. When I was in college, I saw a lot of different students more or less just sitting on their butts doing nothing, and then complaining about their situation, being like, I'm not getting any better at artwork. And it's like, well, did you try doing more artwork? And it's like, no. It's like, And we had a couple of people that would start, like, stealing artwork as a, like, coping mechanism. They'd just be like, I did this, and it's like, no, you didn't. And they'd be like, shut up. You don't know my life. And I'm like, but I know that's art theft. Don't do that. Ow. Ow. God damn it. Freaking spike balls do a lot of damage. Alright, we're good. And we get haste rune. Okay. Loved art, loved digital art more. Yeah, which is why I bought a Cintiq last week. And I'm really looking forward to actually having the time to sit down and work on it. It's just I keep sleeping. Let's see. Oh, now your job is doing digital art. Rad. Last time I remember talking to you, you were still doing like community management and stuff. That's a nice step up. Congrats. I want to get better at art, but starting a single piece is a massive pain. Sketch, draw often. Big pieces, finished pieces, not important. Drawing daily, that's the important thing. Everything else is just kind of a weird secondary that you don't actually need to worry about it too much, at least early on. There we go. And I mean, obviously, that's not the best advice, but if you're working on improving, having something done is less important than actually just getting into the habit of doing artwork. Oh, Cintiq. C-I-N-T-I-Q. There we go. Spelling it is weird. Wacom is strange. It's a, for those of you, I guess, that don't know professional art tools, the Cintiq is a, it's a monitor. I can pull it out later tonight even. It's a monitor with a, it's effectively a pen tablet, but also a monitor at the same time, so you can draw on top of it. Back in the day, when I like first got into art and was in college and whatnot, the only way to do art was with effectively, well, digital art was with a plastic slab that had like an active pen location, and you would draw on that as though it were a piece of paper or a canvas or anything like that. And it worked, but it was awkward. There was no, like, immediate... Like, you couldn't see what you were doing. It was more like hand-eye coordination. It's like trying to write an essay where the words don't show up on the piece of paper that you're writing on. They show up on a computer screen in front of you, and it's doable, and you actually get pretty good at it if you're used to it. But it's still really awkward. There we go. And so, for a while, I was just using, an Intuos tablet, which I think was fine. It works actually pretty well. But that was like 15 years ago. The thing barely works. I think I have it at my parents' place. I didn't bring it with me out to Kansas because it was kind of falling apart and getting kind of fiddly. And then I bought an iPad, which works well, but it's a hard workflow because you effectively have to export everything, port it over through the internet, download it, get it set up in Photoshop or Illustrator or something like that, and that takes longer. So I think I'd prefer to use it as a digital sketchbook and actually do most of my complete pieces on my Cintiq instead. Oops. There we go. And so, I keep wanting to play with it, but I just haven't had the time to really sink into it. Which is part of the reason why I wanted to maybe have a day off tomorrow, so I could actually just sit around doing art. I bought one of those plastic slabs years ago for 50 bucks on a whim, and it still works. Yeah, they work great. The ones with the screens in them tend to have a shorter shelf life. but they're just easier to work on, which is why I picked it up. They also have gotten considerably cheaper over the past couple of years. Back when I was in college, a Cintiq was like 22 inches. There were no like smaller budget versions, and would often run you like $2,000. And then they came out with some like cheaper versions. I think they did have like $1,000 version, but it was very small. It was like 720p or something like that, which just does not look great. Let's see. And like I had a friend who had gone on co-op at like Google or something like that, and more or less had like a couple $1,000 or tens of thousands of dollars that he was just spending because he'd never had that much money before because he grew up poor. So he's like, I'm just gonna buy a bunch of things, especially because I'm gonna make a bunch of money in the tech industry, which he was very right about. He lives up in Seattle, and I've seen his house, and it is very large. But so yeah, he let me play with his for a little while. That sounded weird, and it was like, it was good. I liked the idea of it, but the actual, I'm not going to say the execution, but it was just too small. The UI was too big, and so it felt very uncomfortable. So you can get an XP pen, which is just a very cheap one for $200 on Amazon. A Wacom or like a Wacom alternative? Because I know there are Wacom alternatives that I've considered, but they were always just a little shoddier, and I just didn't want to deal with it. Also, just like the company, they're kind of, I don't know, they're okay. I hear the news about them every once in a while. I'm like, oh yeah, that's actually not. There's kind of a reason why I still support them as a company as opposed to, like, I don't know, certain other ones. I'm never eating it at McDonald's ever again, but that's, go figure. Yeah, it's an alternative. The thing is also, like, so using my iPad, which a lot of people actually do swear by for professional work, and then switching to a proper Cintiq, like, there is a very noticeable difference. So I think if you're still doing, like, you know, hobby work or amateur work, or, you know, we're just starting out, god damn it, dead zones, or lack of dead zones, then stuff like the XP pen and whatnot. Let's see, stuff like the XP pen would be perfectly fine. Okay, screw it. Got him. Aha! Turns out their pattern is actually kind of predictable. I'm loving your iPad as a way to lie in bed and or sit on the couch and sketch for fun. Yeah, and that's why I got my iPad, so I could bring it to conventions, and just like do stuff mobile, which works really well. So I will specifically bring my iPad with me on a plane and spend 4 or 5 hours just working on art, and it is just so nice. But it's minimal. It's okay for like actual full pro grade work as opposed to other things. Okay, is there a story with the McDonald's thing? The way they treat their employees makes me really uncomfortable. I know with the current pandemic they were doing weird things like more or less. Jeez, I honestly forget which specific story it is because I've heard a number of different companies like this. But you know, the ones that are like, you're essential, or like no sick leave for you, or no hazard pay for working, or well, maybe not hazard pay, but like, you know, if you're going to be forced to interact with the public right now, you deserve something extra for the potential risk. I don't know, paying for your health insurance or medical costs or anything like that, and McDonald's is just like, nope, I don't like that. Like, I get it. it's a job that anybody can do, therefore everybody thinks, like, it doesn't deserve to be paid well. But, like, I've done retail. It sucks. People who do retail work don't want to do retail work most of the time. They just have to, because they don't have a choice. That doesn't mean we should pay them garbage. Working during a UN-declared pandemic warrants hazard pay. Or at least, like, some crazy considerations, like entirely covered health insurance, or medical bills if you do fall ill, or, I don't know, protective gear? And the answer is nope. Like, I've been seeing a lot of articles from people who are being not laid off, but their company will, like, fire them and then say, like, we're gonna hire you back for minimum wage. And if you say no to this, then we're gonna deny your unemployment because you rejected a job from us. Which is really shitty. And also illegal. But it's just like, I don't know. I'm building a small list of businesses that I prefer to avoid. Just because, like, I do try and vote with my wallet for, like, moral places, because I realize the world's kind of a crappy place, and I shouldn't be supporting it if at all possible. Anyone can put someone through a checkout counter. Can they do it quickly and efficiently and while talking with a difficult customer? Oh, jeez. So, when I said I worked at retail, I worked at a low-end grocery store. Back in the day. And the amount of wild people there were... It was a little silly. And so, I still remember... I got run over by some of the customers. I was one of the freaking cart boys, pushing carts. And, I mean, luckily no one could ever, like, drive fast around there, but I'm sure if there was a better runway, I actually would have been injured. But the amount of people that would just, like, hit me with their car and they get mad because I was in their way was just like, what is wrong with you, person? Damn it. There we go. I feel like they might actually put those at that angle intentionally. But no, like, I don't know. I am absolutely spoiled in this regard, but I feel like everybody working should never feel like they're forced to work for a reason. And everybody generally will be a better employee if they're actually happy doing it. It's like, one realization I had a long time ago is, like, how do you know that the minimum wage person serving your food or making your food or whatever isn't just, like, spitting in it? And I'm sure that's, like, an incredibly small possibility. But I've had that stuck in my head forever, and it's like, I'm sure it never happens. But I can imagine, like, someone super disgruntled. Yeah. They'd be fine just coughing or sneezing. I mean, oh gosh. Right as this whole pandemic thing was starting, Shell and I got back from Disney. Which, speaking of going to Disney... was really, really uncomfortable. The amount of people there that would cough openly, sneeze openly, wouldn't wash their hands coming back from the bathroom and stuff was honestly a bit disturbing. And so, coming back, there was kind of this feeling of like, oh, yeah, this whole pandemic thing is actually, like, very real, and we should start being, like, careful and conscientious about this. So when grocery shopping, and I think within, like, 3 minutes of being in the store, I had been coughed on twice, sneezed on, or sneezed near, and all of which were just people that would do so without, like... have to be, like, here? There we go. I'm working on that. But, you know, just people that weren't at all conscious of, like, how gross they were being, and let alone, like, the fact that, yeah, there might actually be, like, a plague going around. Because we'd already had cases in the town that I live in. We were actually, like, one of the first and only areas, I think, in Oregon, to really have a reported outbreak. Admittedly, I've stopped paying attention because I just don't go outside anymore. But, like, I almost lived in one of the neighborhoods that, like, the outbreak had, like, started in, and I was just like, oh, yeah, that's spooky. And that same neighborhood is kind of vaguely where I go grocery shopping, and it's just like, I don't feel comfortable anymore being out and about just around all these people because no one's taking it seriously and everyone's kind of gross. Hey, Hedgehog's cursed. Perfect. Oh, perfect. Ah. That's easy. But yeah, I don't have a very good list of companies to avoid, and I have to be a hypocrite because certain ones fill a niche that, you know, I specifically do need to have, like, filled. But, like, most of the other ones I can avoid. Especially restaurants and whatnot. You know the employees and their addresses, so living in a small community has its ups and downs. I mean, I'd assume that's generally a more positive thing, hopefully, but I don't know. The other thing is I just don't like McDonald's. Like, it's just kind of a gross restaurant. Half the time I go there, it's just not good food. And when it is, like, good food, it's in Europe, and I'm not going to Europe to go to McDonald's. Like, what was it? Where are we going? We were just going to the right. Okay, Shell and I went to Hungary a couple of years ago for, I guess, a while ago, actually. 7 years ago now? As part of our study abroad. And we were really hungry, and we didn't want to sit down. I think we also were kind of low on money at the time. And very specifically, we stopped in at a McDonald's because we're like, okay, we've heard European McDonald's is actually pretty good. And the answer was, yeah, in Hungary, the McDonald's was decent. I was shocked. Like, it was legit, like, not sit-down restaurant-style burger, but it was, there were actually, like, decent vegetables, and the patty didn't make me hate myself. Anyway, journal entry 15. I remember being a famous adventurer. My martial prowess. Isn't it just prowess? Surpassed all of my brothers, that I'm sure of. Well, they spent their days buried in bookish studies. I was out killing brigands and monsters. I always wondered why my father favored them over me. Isn't it always the opposite in fairy tales? Fortune favors the bold, not the insipid intellectual or something like that. Man, I would love to see my brothers try and outthink my sword in their face. That's due to better health, food and health regulations. I would 100% believe that. Which is why I generally will, like, eat at more family-style restaurants if I can manage it. The smaller the chain, the better. And if it is a chain, it better be like one of those crazy ones. But there are very few of those that I actually, like, bother at. Also just find, I'm gonna say, like, canned chain food tends to taste the same no matter where you are. And so, like, there's a couple, like, the one that hurts me, I think, the most is, honestly, Chick-fil-A. I refuse to eat at Chick-fil-A anymore. One, because I think the quality did drop as of, like, years ago when I did eat there. But their anti-gay stance is incredibly insulting and disappointing, because, like, that was my favorite. Chick-fil-A and Papa John's were my, like, favorite fast food restaurants growing up, and finding out more or less within the same week that both were awful was just like it stung. Let's see, Chick-fil-A is anti-gay? Yup, very. I think they might have backed off of that policy because it was unpopular, but, like, that's not... That doesn't mean you're a moral person, that just means you care about profits. And that's always spooky to me. Let's see, why would a company need a socio-political stance? Yeah, you'd wonder about that. And yet, they had one. And were, like, actively donating to, anti-gay causes. I had the same problem with the Boy Scouts of America, actually, which, you know, sort of regretfully, I'm an Eagle Scout. But I became an eagle, and then, like, within a couple of months, I always knew they were kind of weird about religion and stuff. Like, you had to be religious, but also they had some other things. It was strange. But then they came out really, really hard as, like, anti-gay for a while, and that was unpopular, and I was very uncomfortable with that. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that, yeah, they did have issues with molestation back in the day, which is gross to say and gross to even think about, but the reality of the situation. And so, like, I can almost understand the practicality of that stance, except for the fact that, you know, it just gives credence to discrimination instead of anything, you know, positive. See, I honestly don't know how Boy Scouts manages to have a positive public reputation. It's because most troops are isolated and not bad. It's just the problem is the ones that are really bad are really bad. Okay. Wow. Freaking castle is huge. I'm really hoping we can get a spell change pedestal before I go to the forest. I don't mind the knives, but I'm going to have a much easier time of it if I'm using the fire spell. But no, there are absolutely reasons why, like, Boy Scouts of America is still considered a positive organization. Last I heard, they went bankrupt, so I don't even know how they stand. I can't imagine it's going particularly well. Let's see, Girl Scouts are quite balanced. Or beloved. Do they help Boy Scouts by association? No, from my experience, they almost seemed contentious half the time. Good. So I got as much mana back as I possibly can. Okay, let's just not do that. Not even close. So where else am I missing? So you actually just want to go back up through here. Whew. Those fireballs hurt. That's what happens when you do not invest at all in armor. Glass cannoning works really well in this mod. But it's, not the wisest if you want to go into some of the harder areas. Okay, so we've got area to the left, and then an area up-ish. Oh, right, I'm also taking double damage because I'm here. Okay, Zorstream says that one of their viewers made the mod and named it after them. Oh, cool. Can't chat because, of the 10-minute following pre-requirement. Oh, I'm super sorry about that. I turned that on, yesterday because somebody was spewing racist garbage in my stream. Oh, God, I hate that. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of this issue, but every once in a while, I will get, like, this awful cretin of a human being showing up in my stream. I mean, it could be a bot, but to just, like, spew extremely racially charged information. And whenever that happens, I have to put things on lockdown. So it should be off now, so you can now talk. I am sorry. So you should have pinged you. It was at, like, 1 a.m. I was not sure who was going to be even awake at that hour. Nor did I want to, like, bother anybody. Plus, I need to get a couple more late-ish night mods. Okay. Dicey, but not so bad. Just have to watch my HP. Well, one way or another, now that you can actually chat, thank you for reminding me. I totally forgot to change that because yeah, I do not have any patience for that kind of ill behavior. But I'm also very forgetful, so sometimes I forget to actually turn things back on again. But your fan that put together this mod is an absolute genius, and it's really made Rogue Legacy sing again. That's maybe not the right phrase, but like it's really reinvigorated my enjoyment of this game because I've played through it. I think this would be my third time, and after a certain point, you know, it just gets kind of old hat. Nope, it's fine. And so just having slight differences makes a huge difference to me. Got him. Hell yeah. Let's see, default 5, and he's a freaking wizard. Yeah! I'm really enjoying this. I will admit, as a wizard, I think he might have overbalanced the mages in this game. They're a little strong, but you know what? I don't even care. It's super good. Alright. I didn't want to go into this room, because it's kind of hyper-aggressive. Let's see. Aha! There we go. Yeah, the mages are just broken. I don't think I even so much as touched magic the first couple times I played this. Like, I was just in... Ow! Oh, gosh. Okay, painting cannon will kill me. Got it. Okay. There we go. Can I get some mana back in here? Yes. Let's do that. Mages are amazing early game now, but later on they're pretty balanced compared to the rest. Yeah, I could agree with that. Finding out that I more or less have just, like, somewhat infinite mana for, destroying everything, it was really satisfying. Oh, where am I even going? I think we've pretty much cleared out the entirety of the basic castle. Yeah, actually, we have. Damn, I was really hoping we get a spell switch thing. Let's see. Wander for the warp updated. Plans on playing it again. I should, yes. The problem is there's just so many games always on my plate. And I will admit, I got a little sick of early access roguelikes over the past year. There's just too many of them. And, there's just too many of them, and it was actually sapping my enjoyment of the genre a little bit, because it's kind of one of those where it's like, I like playing games that are still in development, because there's usually some pretty cool aspects there. Problem is, too many games that are in development, after a certain point, you start feeling like every game is in development, and it wore on me a little bit. You can oh. There I go.